You are at predictions, then he'll probably have to go eventually as well. Mike the Pinata back at it again. I almost made a 4-year-old meme joke, but we're going to see here with Myth and Hamlinz look like they're going to be dropping. Are they going where I think I'm going? Is that retail? Are they going to steel? Where's it going to be at, Landon? I just need to know.
Oh, boy.
Where are they going to drop at? Because he's got bubbles. I mean, how can he be upset when you're playing Myth when he's got bubbles for his trails going down there? I'm excited.
Yep. I am indeed as well. It looks like, yeah, they're going to be making their way here inside of what is, pretty typical, right? Going toward retail row, playing against an aggressive squad like typical Gamer and Thief. And I think for Myth and Hamlinz, they're not interested in that mirror battle. They're not interested in wanting to face off against a team who's going to be mirroring them the entire time. They kind of make the split push, decide to go to retail row. Probably throws off, right? Typical Gamer and Thief, because we talk about this team of TSM known for Salty Springs drops. Not outskirts, but inside Salty almost every single time. So the fact that they make this change happen probably is going to be a little surprising for typical Gamer and Thief. So really, when you talk about the difference between Salty Springs and retail row, it's a matter of, pick and choose. But for the most part, retail row, a majority of the time is going to have a lot more players than Salty, just because of the amount of, area around it, the mass city that it has. And, of course, it's so big that we actually have to divide it into two different areas, of course, talking on the retail side and also on the housing side as well.
Definitely so, as we see already some frags in the hands of Myth as he's managed to pick up 2. He's looted up pretty well. As typical Gamer and Thief yet to found anybody at this point, but of course they'll be finding some players later on as they make it out of this bunker house well kitted up at this point to kind of try and tie up the lead there. But of course we all know it's about rotations, and usually off the start we'll see a couple frags here or there, but it comes down to mid-game where the team that's going to win truly starts to shine overall. But if Myth and Hamlinz can make it out of retail, they're going to come up in frags, and on top of that, too, they can kind of get on the other side of Dusty Divot to beat typical Gamer and Thief over there for that rotation. But doesn't look like anybody landed over at Salty. Excuse me, as I say that, though, an engagement will go down, of course, as typically happens whenever I'm commentating. But overall, I have to say, I think the rotation, at least for typical Gamer and Thief, will be the better end of the stick overall in this game.
Okay, Thief, 2 kills in a row. Fantastic play, taking down the Omega, grabs the heavy off the ground and decides to go ahead and take down the final Iron Man, who happens to be very, very low in health. And here comes the player from the skies, as it looks like it should be good for the kill in total. On the opposite end, though, as the kill comes through from Thief on the opposite end, Myth is down for the count. Thankfully, has Hamlinz just toward his side, as he can rely on the fact of having his phenomenal teammate be there for the support. But how scary did that look for a moment, gentlemen, for the hope of TSM fans? Taylor, I know you were weeping just for a few moments. Only a few tears went down your cheek, but thankfully, boy,
enough to actually use
TSM is alive.
My potatoes with, actually. That's how many tears fell out of Taylor's eyes there. But, of course, 6 kills now for the TSM boys. I love to see the aggression from Myth and Hamlinz. A lot of the time you see them maybe kind of play a little cater to different play styles. Right now, it seems like they're just doing them a great drop here in retail. Kind of a risky area, honestly. If you get some of those Dusty Divot folks that just want to grab 2 guns and then push up from behind you. Luckily for them, they're not having that issue running into it this time. Hamlinz, otherwise known as Sleeves, looking good today, making sure that he and Myth are going to have a good shot of potentially advancing to the grand finals today.
Yeah, Legion, tell me why you call Hamlinz Sleeves.
As the tournament goes throughout the entire day, Hamlin's right arm sleeve goes up at least a millimeter every game that we see. And at one point, I believe that the sleeve was actually the entire shirt. But luckily, he's got some beautiful biceps there.
Just one big sleeve. I don't know.
Just one big. It was like
for some reason that was really funny.
Yeah, it was the Snuggie.
Just his whole,
basically just one big sleeve. No, but
his arms and head.
So it's funny. Somebody actually
top.
tweeted at me, and they said, first of all, I don't play a lot of mouse and keyboard because I'm awful. I love controllers, but apparently, if you're wearing sleeves, occasionally, if the short sleeve T length is too long, it's uncomfortable for mouse movement. So somebody was actually tweeting me and was like, Hamlinz does that on purpose. So this is, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the one.
You were the inept one.
I'm like I'm a noob, I guess. I don't know.
I'm with you on that one. I didn't know that, actually, but the producer agreeing with you. The sleeve does make a difference. Didn't know that, but that's very interesting to say the least. I guess if you're playing at a top level,
you learn something new every day.
That's why I play
every sleeve
in
matters.
Garbage bags,
yeah.
So I can lose weight while I'm actually gaming as well. It's not like what wrestlers do, except I'm not moving. So not a lot of real working out there. But
and
still
you're also in air
skills.
Conditioning too. So
yeah.
Well, actually, I heard you recently moved your setup actually into a sauna.
Yeah, I love to pretty much almost pass out from sitting still as much as possible. There's really no other way to do it, actually. I fall asleep in jacuzzis a lot, like 65-year-old men do. So, of course, Tennis Dude 2004 just subscribed as well to Hamlinz channel. Got to love all the love going across the board here for all these Fortnite streamers and YouTubers. Of course, we see Andre's sub count going up like a boss up there top left as they're going to be approaching Dusty Divot, hoping to get into some action with those pop rocks in the back pocket. You know you do not take fall damage when you do drop. Fortunately, he's going to drop like a little falcon again, and they're going to be knocking 2, so it's going to be 2 more kills. Actually, 3, because you're going to see Myth taking some out as well. So 7 total for them, and 4 now for Thief and Typical Gamer.
Yeah, looking pretty solid overall. Myth and Hamlinz looking to take at least this early portion of the game with a total of 9 frags to the 4 on the left. As Typical Gamer and Thief, they're going to be a little bit late to the party as they were just joining over there to try and pick off some of those frags. Unfortunately, not able to get them. But the shopping cart still in the hands of Thief, which means we saw them use this earlier to kind of get a little bit of a lead for distance-wise over Myth and Hamlinz, over Daquan and Camille's, and it worked considerably well. So the fact that they're using it again comes to show really the versatility of that shopping cart and the real usage overall for it. But pushing in deeper into the circle, nobody going to play that gatekeeper role as of yet. They think going into the circle is going to benefit them even more.
And based off of rotations here, guys, I'm not sure exactly where each team is going for the most part. It looks like a maybe northern position coming from Typical Gamer and Thief. And Myth and Hamlinz, they look to be going a little bit of a different position. So kind of odd that we're seeing both of our teams kind of split up. Normally for Typical Gamer and Thief, in their prior tournaments, they were squads who like to very much mirror the opposite team, whether or not they were up, whether or not they were down, or even a lot of the times they were kind of following the opposition, wanting to steal those kills away. Of course, that was many weeks ago, right, that this team was formed, was winning, titles, and back in the early stages of Friday Fortnite. Leading even back into week number 2. Of course, this is another interesting thing that we can translate that into is the factor of how many teams have we seen tonight, right? Really kind of reform. Noah, J, and Avery, Vicstar, and Tenny, of course, Typical Gamer and Thief back at it together. This is a team who obviously saw quite a bit of success. You could argue their placements a little bit inconsistent from time to time. I think it was like top 8, and they finished first, then top 12, then second. They kind of went back from those, kind of oddity placements, but overall, kind of inconsistent from time to time, but what they are on, man, they are just on. They're on a tear, and you could argue Typical Gamer and Thief. They're playing against some of the best players in the entire world, taking down some pro level teams, and at least going toe to toe with some of the best in the world. It's pretty crazy to say that Typical Gamer, who literally has 7 million plus subscribers on YouTube, is literally hanging in there with some of the best pro Fortnite players in the world.
He definitely is just showing the wide plethora of players and people that come to our Friday Fortnite and play Fortnite in general. It's obviously worldwide, but you got to be saying, like you were saying, Landon, Typical Gamer and Thief playing together once again. Their placements have been pretty consistent, but now playing together, it looks like they are poised to make potentially a grand final run, but they got to get through Myth and Hamlinz first, as now they are still racking up kills, sitting now at a total of 10 frags, whereas on the other end, we haven't seen too much action from Typical Gamer and Thief after they left the salty area. It's been very slow. Even with them being at Tilted, nobody is going to be home just yet, whereas we're seeing the rotation coming out by Tomato Town for the men of Myth and Hamlinz, and they've managed to find quite a few engagements.
Yeah, Tomato Town or Tilted Towers. Take your pick, really, when it comes down to the current landscape of this match. I mean, based off of what is typical,
nice
speaking of such, Thieves stealing away that kill 111 meters away and takes down another. Oh, my goodness, Thieves coming through with some major knockdowns across the entirety of the Fortnite map as wow. That is absolutely unreal stuff, and he could potentially go for a third snipe here. As you can see it on his face, the intensity of how exciting moments like that are. And, man, when it really comes down to anyone who plays Fortnite, snipes like that have got to make you feel good, but they also give you tons and tons of confidence. Yeah. And that's exactly what you're going to want to have being in the game, in the situation that you are right now in losers finals versus a squad like TSM.
It's so interesting to see the dynamics of various duos. You see Thieves completely confident with a sniper rifle. When you see players like Nick Merckx, he literally drops the sniper almost every single time. You never really seen him use it. But Thief, he comes from a background in Call of Duty of being kind of one of those montage kids with sniper rifles, right? Absolutely hitting these quad feeds left and right. So transfers over. Usually you don't see that good of a transfer from controller to mouse and keyboard.
Right.
But, I mean, this guy just knows the dynamics of a sniper rifle in any game he plays, and he's an absolute monster with it. Of course, I think we can all agree that Thieves and TG would love if the jetpack was still in this game. Because I remember watching them play with this several weeks ago whenever the jetpack first came out. And these guys, when it came to building sky bases and just falling, it was fantastic to watch. But of course, they're doing just fine. 11 now out of the TSM boys to the total of 7 from TG and Thief.
You're bringing back memories, actually. I remember Thief rocking, or Typical Gamer and Thief rocking the jetpack, and they were huge fans of it. And they kind of showed the ability of it and how they could use it to the fullest of its ability, but still finding frags left and right. That Storm, very big for the amount of frags still remaining with 14 there, as we're seeing Myth and Hamlinz mowing this structure down, as Hamlinz is going to push up and try and get this player knocking. He's able to do just that. And going for even more, as Myth is going to be pushing up as well to potentially get a frag on this ramp too. So great teamwork between the two, and overall showing consistency through this rotation. Myth backing up, though, as he was, in fact, taking some shots, taking some damage. Got to be careful, but still has that high ground. Nobody challenging for it just yet, but lasering the opponents down below to potentially pick up the final guy here, and I believe that's going to be it if he's able to get him there. No, still one player remaining, as I thought there was going to be 3, but it looks like there's going to be 4 players in this team.
Yeah, it looks like nice knockdowns coming through from not just Myth, but also a Hamlinz as well. Collective knockdowns equaling out for an even better score, and it looks like one player tries to go for the excess ramp, and I think Myth, for the most part, is usually excited for those type of fights, pulls out the bouncer trap, and unfortunately gets put in a pretty awkward scenario, but of course that bouncer trap can be used in a multitude of different ways. Of course, earlier than that wasn't the greatest usage when it comes down to things, but of course Hamlinz will try, or excuse me, Myth rather, will try to reset things and kind of go back from square one, as just like that, the Omega explodes with a number of different awesome gifts. And it looks like, along with that ammo, he's also going to be grabbing a nice little med kit, along with his 10 minis in his back pocket. They're sitting pretty well when it comes to the utilities, gentlemen.
And Hamlinz doesn't miss a beat, finds another player below, gets him, goes for the rocket thirst, but you see on the screen there of Hamlinz, Typical Gamer will be dropped. And of course, with only 2 players remaining, Myth and Hamlinz seem to have found the final few frags. And of course, they already have a nice sizable lead, sitting at 20-7 overall. That's going to be 13 frags going into game number 2, looking poised and hot and ready to take over game 2 and move into the grand finals. But man, Typical Gamer dropping, that's a big at least sore spot if you're if you're Thief moving into the final couple of frags overall. But you know what? It's all right. At this point, a lot of damage has already been done, and it's going to be hard to kind of even if these final 2 frags do come into play, or at least 1 more or 2 more come into play, honestly, that's still a big deficit of 11 potential frags. Yeah,
a lot of eliminations that are definitely in the line set for Myth and Hamlinz, right? The future is bright for the TSM boys, and that's kind of unfortunate if you're in Thief's shoes. Like I said, being down 13 kills right now is hard enough, along with the fact that you just dropped your teammate. At least like one positive that you can take out of this, guys, really, is the factor of how many players are still left up, right? I mean, there's only, roughly 8 kills still available on the map. Some along those lines, whether or not you'll see all those players remains to be seen. But at least it wasn't in the early stages, right? Obviously, Typical Gamer did contribute, quite a bit when it comes down to the overall kill category, playing that support that we all know and love. But regardless of that, though, it looks like based off of Myth's position, the top right of our screens right now, pulls out the bounce pad and is going to be all buddy-buddy with Thieves. Going to give him a quick little high five and say, hey, man, lead me to the kills, lead me to the eliminations, because they're going to stick together. I like that play coming through, an opposite mirroring strategy, one that we actually saw pretty much get highlighted from the opposite team in Typical Gamer and Thief. In the early stages of Friday Fortnite, they were one of the first teams to implement that heavy mirroring strategy. It was already done in tournaments when it comes into Fortnite, but they were ones to really take it to the next level. Of course, right now on Myth's screen, pulling out the pyramids to try to diminish the amount of building from the opposite team right now, as this is definitely a pretty comparable opponent.
Wow.
And I believe along with that, Myth is going to come through with a few nice frags. The show is all his and making it look easy.
Nice.
The TAC SMG coming forward, and he's feeling good after that. 13 eliminations coming in from the captain of Team Solo Mid, making it look solid
Myth
there
has got
in that loser's final
the
game
best camera I've seen in anybody's stream period. Like, I'm literally going to have to Google his setup for the sheer sake of just figuring out how the quality is that way. Because, listen, you've got to – what are we talking about here kill lead-wise, guys, eliminations-wise going into this next game?
It's got to be like 13, 14 plus.
22, so
15.
Yeah.
15 eliminations going into this. I mean, unfortunately, TG goes down, but that was just one of those situations where you've got nobody really coming around you. Myth and Hamlinz had a very good chance of taking a lead that large because everywhere they were going, they were fighting opponents. Yeah. Meanwhile, Thief is really the only thing he could do is get those pop shots off with a sniper rifle. Not a whole lot of up-close action, which is what you want to see, especially with the way that, Typical Gamer and Thief's work teamwork-wise. They're very much so a team that needs to be together. Meanwhile, Myth and Hamlinz, they're just monsters on their own as well. So
we could argue too when it comes down to this game, pretty similar drops for both of these squads. One retail, one Salty Springs. Like I said, maybe when it comes down to things, rotation kills that we've learned over the past few weeks have been incredibly important. Drops, outskirt plays as well have kind of been the Friday Fortnite meta as of recent. Typical Gamer, right? He has been playing in our tournaments. Steve has been kind of swapping off from different player to different player, playing with Avery, playing with J-Omok. His overall strategy has changed up tremendously from week to week. Typical hasn't even been playing in Friday Fortnite, so maybe you could argue a similar drop for both of our teams. But maybe the reason why TSM has such an advantage coming into this match is because, hey, they've been playing in constant tournaments. They've been winning even one of our tournaments in the past few weeks as well. And so you can maybe argue the meta, the overall knowledge of rotation kills and where players should be at has got to be in their favor. At least it's possible, right? That factor could be coming into play. Just not being in Friday Fortnite the last 3 or 4 weeks is typical. So
it's possible that could come into play, but obviously this game came down to overall just finding engagements. TSM found literally every single player on the map just about. And it comes to show, one retail, one salty, but they converged in Dusty at one point, but then they split off from there. We saw the boys of Typical Gamer and Thief. They headed over towards Tilted, literally found no one over there, and then kind of worked their way down through Loot Lake. And then, of course, going to Tomato, which I kind of questioned. I was like, well, Tomato or Tilted, you said take your pick. Tomato Town, for some reason, had quite a few players, and on from there was even more players after that. And it's kind of, you don't expect that whatsoever, but for some reason, TSM knew to rotate over there, and I guess they just assumed because of the circle or how it was landing.
Right.
But they made the right play. They found the frags, and that's why they have such a massive lead. It comes down to, honestly, just finding them overall. It has nothing to do with Typical Gamer or a Thief playing badly. They played phenomenally well. Just did find the frags overall.
I think a lot of it comes down to where you land initially and then paying attention to where everyone else is dropping so you have a better idea of where to actually rotate. Mm-hmm. You're in that situation. No one in their right mind would normally go Tomato Town. There's 3 buildings to loot. You've got the underground. Pretty much you're going to run into at least traps trying to go into those staircases in that little still building with the cars underneath. It's like that's pretty much all you do there. There's nothing going on. You got like that weird rando team coming from Wailing Woods or Lonely. For some reason, there's 2 or 3 squads there. And of course, first of all, anybody that's landing there anyways off the rip is probably going to get decimated when they run into a team like TSM. So it's exactly what we saw happen for Game 1 going into Game 2. Hiding my mic cable. Let's get it going. TG and Thief versus Myth and Hamlinz. Myth and Hamlinz with a 15 elimination lead. But TG's still smiling. And Thief looking like he's ready to find every snack in the kitchen.
And it looks like based off the drop here, boys, for Myth and Hamlinz, looks like an outskirts risky real play based off the location, based off their mini-map. And on Typical Gamer and Thief, it looks like we're going to be seeing a split, one toward Tilted Towers and one toward Pleasant Park. No spoilers, but take a look at Typical Gamer's point of view. Top left of our screen, trying to make his way toward Doghouse. Looks like he's going to find a little chest off the break. It looks like he does find a grenade launcher along with some C4. So the explodes are looking good for him. Let's see how this engagement actually takes place. Player has a revolver in his back pocket, and it is extremely, extremely accurate. Of course, in the assistance along with that pump shot, you can see the face of Typical Gamer is not stoked by any stretch of the imagination. He officially is taken out of this game, and in one of the first engagements in the entirety of this game of Friday Fortnite, in the entirety of this Fortnite game, Typical is out for the count, and Thief, a permanent 1v2, a 15-plus kill deficit already. It is going to look very, very grim for this team to move forward. It would be a miracle if Thief could pull this off.
Now, Thief's got a lot on his plate right now, but we just saw Typical Gamer get obliterated with a one-tap headshot from a revolver, which has got to be the most unfortunate way to die of all time. He's chasing the guy up the stairs with a battle rifle, apparently, with the BR, right? Burst rifle, shoots the guy, and then gets one-tapped.
Was it the pump shot or was it the revolver?
I thought it was. Did the other guy shoot him with the shotgun?
I thought it was dual pistols, actually. That's what I thought.
Who knows?
I'm pretty sure
I thought it was a candy cane. I don't know how everybody died. Oh, well.
Either way.
4 kills from Thieves. He's narrowing the deficit.
Okay, well, there you go. We talked about can he do it? He's doing it pretty well, at least so far. Of course, a lot more remains to be seen. A lot easier said than done, but apologies for us, chat. It's kind of hard, actually, the way that we have this set up right now, to see exactly how all these things are breaking down. Maybe even need like a slow-motion replay for us eventually would be kind of nice. But now don't want to ask too much from production, at least for the time being. But, of course, take a look at things for the moment. Thief, being down the way that he is doing his the best he possibly can. But take a look at this, guys. Over half the lobby is already eliminated, and he's already escaped with 4 kills. Based off the track that he's going right now, he should be finishing out with 8, which is not going to do it, along with Myth and Hamlinz's overall play as they kind of transition into things. Like I said, it's going to be very difficult for him to pull this off. Tilt the Towers, I feel like it can be an opportune situation to get this one done. I mean, based off his position, you think he needs to be in Tilted, or does he maybe need to be thinking in the back of his mind a rotation toward Retail Row or Salty Springs? Tomato Town right now is where we see TSM.
Oh, my goodness, that's it. He got impulse grenaded on.
Question answered.
And obliterated. Thieves in an unfortunate death. That Red Knight was coming for him. He had the original back bling. Yeah. Talking got real hard for a second.
Yeah. It's all good. It happens.
That's
we've
an
been
OG.
We've been talking for 8.5 hours. I think it's fair to say.
I don't even know
we
where
allow
I'm
our
at.
few slip-ups every now and again. But, man, talk about some insane plays kind of toward the end. An unfortunate Game 2 finish for TG and Thief, of course, in that situation, splitting toward Pleasant Park, splitting toward Tilted Towers, and both of them see an early elimination. Thankfully for Thief, though, can kind of go out respectively. I know he wasn't exactly happy with how that last engagement went, but he went out slaying as hard as he possibly could. And like I said, unfortunately for Thief, drops in back-to-back games, allowing typical drops in back-to-back games, kind of a little bit early for the most part. And, of course, counterparts can't really move forward. But, man, does this set up a very, very interesting match? We've got TSM facing off against FaZe Clan. We've been talking about this earlier on, early stages in the tournament of how like the pillars of the entirety of Friday Fortnite has kind of been built on these two organizations.
Right, it definitely has. I mean, you're looking at how many players from FaZe have been in our tournaments: FaZe Banks, FaZe Rain, FaZe whoever. We've had so many FaZe, but then you also look at TSM, right? We've have Hamlinz, Myth, Daquan.
High Distortion,
Crafty, right? Camille's. We have so many.
OP? Starts listening off everyone.
Literally, like they kind of run our tournaments in terms of how many players are there. But now you're seeing these two organizations, two powerhouse teams, play against each other, and of course they have in the past several times. Mind you, TSM. This is their second time in the Grand Finals overall. The last time they were in Grand Finals, they won the entire thing. They got first place, and they were extremely happy for that. But now they're back in the Grand Finals position, and they're ready to take it over. But you know what? FaZe was in this position last week. Yep. They were confident going in, but a bracket reset happened from Ninja and Hysteria, and they got second place overall. So now they're hungry for yet another win, which would be, their fourth total win for Friday Fortnite, and that would get them a net of about $46,000 made overall.
A new Lincoln. That's all we know.
But as of right now, they're guaranteed at least $43,000. So a lot riding on the line for this final match.
A boat.
Oh, yeah.